welcome to a very special episode of Aussie Backyard Banter, the Lads in Lockdown reunion. Broadcasting from all corners of the country over dodgy Zoom calls, terrible Wi-Fi, and questionable microphones, the show became a weekly mix of sport, current events, movie reviews, farming talk, and absolute nonsense. At the center of it all was Mitch, living alone in Cowra during lockdown, obsessively researching sports stories and current events before every episode, while also somehow being the only member of the group with decent audio quality. Joining him was AJ, better known as Goody, the dairy farmer, proud Rabidos supporter, and unofficial U.S. correspondent. Famous for joining episodes from inside a tractor using terrible Android AirPods, Goody always had an opinion on world politics, especially Joe Biden. These days, he's a full-time farmer, husband and dad who claims to be too media-trained to comment on international affairs. Jack Hogan, known as Hogas, was the Raiders supporter, agronomist, and provider of constant dad advice to the group, usually advice nobody asked for. Today, he's a farmer, agronomist, and husband, while still giving out advice whether it's wanted or not. James Bealey. Beal became famous for quietly laughing in the background before delivering another edition of Beal's Best and his movie reviews. Today, he remains part of the ABB team while continuing to expand his Beal's Spiels talents. Callum brought one of the show's most iconic segments, What's Fixed or Made Worse? At the time, he was working as a car salesman while somehow still attempting to repair cars himself. These days, he's left the world of ties behind for security work, while still occasionally making cars better, not worse. And finally, there's Gus, the Victorian or Mexican correspondent who survived life under lockdown in Victoria before eventually escaping just over the Nessuas border. Still an agronomist today, Gus now serves as Aussie Backyard Banter's AFL and local footy expert. Years later, careers, towns, and lives may have changed, but within minutes of reuniting, the chaos returned exactly as everyone remembered it. And now, for the first time in years, the boys are back together once again. This is the Lads in Lockdown reunion on Aussie Backyard Banter.
Ladies and gentlemen, episode 15, and I couldn't get a better man to introduce it because I couldn't sum it up myself any better. But we're back, the Lads in Lockdown reunion. We thought we better do one. It's been 4 years since all of us boys are in a dodgy Zoom call from all different parts. Our lives have changed. Our morals are still very much the same, although a bit hidden, as Bernard mentioned about Goody. But we shall see. But joining us, we'll work around the room again. Jack, welcome back, mate, to the pod. And, yeah, how have you been, mate? Tell us. Describe yourself in 3 words, mate, off the bat.
Well, do we want some advice or do we not want some advice after that intro? No, mate, I'm good. I suppose nothing tested friendships than dodgy Wi-Fi and 2-second delays like our attempt at a podcast, 5 or 6 years ago, but we're all here again, so we must be doing all right.
Somehow, yeah. How would you describe yourself in 3 words, mate?
Matured, funny, and smart.
Very good. I'm glad it's self-appointed. Goody, AJ, welcome back to the podcast. We've missed your opinions in the last 4 years. The world's changed a lot. Back then, Sleepy Joe was running America. And I think from memory, the last episode, you were wearing a Pauline Hanson One Nation cap during the time of recording, which you mentioned. Mate, how have you been? Life's changed a lot for you since then. Trump's in. The world's all upside down.
Oh, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Early to the Pauline party, and turns out the same people that have been running things are still running things. So, yeah, it's things haven't changed, but still the same. So glad to be here. Glad to see the boys. Just glad to be a part of things.
And mate, because you're a first time to the Aussie Backyard Banter, how would you describe yourself in 3 words?
Pretty decent bloke. I'll just go with that. Keep it simple.
Pretty decent bloke. Matt, you're calling in from the darkest location we've seen you on so far in this podcast. We worried. Have you been kidnapped, mate? What's going on? Are you safe? You feel okay?
I am safe. I am about to start work in literally 5 minutes. So just a little cheeky one from me today. I'm calling from the car park of tonight's employer. And I was like, well, we might as well get in here quick and then get away.
Well, we had to get your opinion on the introduction, mate. It was a special one, mate. Before you go, and we'll get you on quickly, but what's your favourite memory of the old Lads in Lockdown podcast?
Mate, every episode of the previous podcast, I recorded drunk as anything on the floor using my coffee table as a table because it's the only thing I had in my house. It was an absolute blast. Can and will do again.
So I was going to say, what's changed from when you do the episodes with us?
I haven't had a beer yet. About it, though. Give me about 4 hours and I'll be riding one.
Gus, we finally got you hopefully uninterrupted this time. You've spoken to the New South Wales gods. Bernard struggled with NSW. That's where the Nursua came from, but we're glad you've made it across the border. It's scary to think 4 years ago we were talking about a roadmap out of COVID that you could travel into New South Wales. Mate, life's changed a lot for you.
Oh, mate, I got my permanent permit. I can cross the river whenever I want. Feels like a lifetime ago, though.
It's
Crazy.
Scary, isn't it? Like, I listened back just before the show just to get pumped up for today, and holy hell, the issues we had back then, we thought, like, it's scary to think. Goody was mentioned that it would be easier for us to travel to London than it was to get into Queensland. Like, that's how weird it was back then, 4 years ago.
Crazy times.
Beals, how are you, mate?
I'm fantastic. I'm back for the reunion and looking forward to it. Be good. Catch up with everyone.
Very good. Look, we'll jump into some hard-hitting topics. Goody's just periodically left us quickly. I'm sure he's no doubt got a couple of phone calls to make. He is a businessman doing business. But, Jack, how have you been? Last time we spoke, Raiders supporter tragic 4 years ago, wishing the team well through thick and thin, even though they were struggling in the COVID years. But, mate, how have you been?
Mate, been good. Been pretty good. Raiders are still breaking your heart every second weekend. Pretty used to it now after 30 years of watching them win games till the 70th minute, then somehow decide to lose them. But, hey, another year, no more surprises. And at least we beat the Rabidos this year. That's all I can say.
I know, it's a shame Goody's not on here to defend the Rabidos who have had they're the crest of a slump.
But besides that, I had a bit of a down week until about 6 hours ago with just been married a couple of months ago, lost the wedding ring on the first outing and managed to find it today. So
I was going to touch on that because you and I did catch up for caught up for a few sneaky bevies, which doesn't, and we can only say that now being 4 years later, led into what I can only describe as one of the more intense handball games I've played in the last 10 to 15 years, which afterwards we went back for a refreshment and couldn't find your ring. And, geez, we looked for it. But scary to think how it just slipped off.
Yeah, well, it was that intense a game that a savage backhand saw the ring go the other direction, I suppose. I don't know.
You moved back onto the farm. I think last time we spoke to you, you were at Cooter, I think 4 years ago. It's hard to remember where we all were.
No, I was definitely in Denny for Lads in Lockdown is where I was. So
happy to be back in Bethungra, mate, in the hills where you belong.
Happy to be back in God's country, that's for sure.
Gus, we've missed you. We've got a lot of AFL news to carry over quickly. But, mate, your team, the Dockers, Fremantle, they've been playing well. How, mate, what actually, and then even your own team, how's it all been going? Fill us in. We haven't really heard much from you all year because you keep cutting out just as you get into the in-depth information.
Oh, well, local footy's doing local footy things this week. I think we have 18 blokes out across ones and twos. Scraping the barrel for selection this week, but somehow we still have a team. So I wouldn't want to be a reserves coach in footy. Like, it'd be the worst job. Just trying to get a team every week. But no, we played all the good teams. Played all the top 4 teams start of the year. So I think we lost 3 of them. But we've got on a bit of a roll at the moment. We're 3 wins in a row, I think. So, and we've got Mathiara this week. They're not going too good. So hopefully keep the winning momentum going. I've actually skipped the side for the last 3 weeks. So we have 3 captains and they're all out. So, mate, 4th in line.
Fourth in line. How many tosses did you win at the start of the game?
Two.
Goody,
Two wins from
I'm
three
glad
as well.
you're back. I'm glad you're back because we'll quickly switch back to you for a second because 4 years ago, the Rabidos were on a high, but now we could only describe that they're on the crest of a slump. And, mate, are you still a diehard Rabidos supporter? And how does it feel to lose to the Raiders?
Well, first of all, I've got to quiz you on what's a crest of a slump. They're not the same thing.
Yeah.
You'll have to explain that too.
Just look up Rabidos definition, and this is where it comes up. I just read the book, mate.
Right. Fair enough. Dark times ahead. We've been here before. We will be back. We will be mighty once again. My whole life as a young man was spent supporting a team that was basically in the battle for the wooden spoon. So, you know, at the end of the day, we won a premiership a few years ago. We're still riding off that. You know, we've been close a few times in between. That's pretty good. You know, rooting for the long haul. When you've been in the NRL for over 100 years, you're going to have some up and down times. Not like these, you know, Johnny come lately's like Canberra. So, yeah.
Can I just ask something?
Yeah.
Are they seventh? Like, why are they in a slump? Don't they make finals in the top 8?
They're actually doing well. They're actually realistically only like 2 points out of the top 4. Obviously Mitchell's trying to gauge some emotion now with me and rile me up. One of his favourite tactics, but yeah, they're actually doing fairly well. I think Latrell's right up there for one of the highest point scorers for the season. So yeah, I mean, it's only early days yet. You know, you don't win the premiership in May, that's for sure, or June. So yeah.
As the Raiders did find out, you know, minor premiers means nothing.
No.
Hoax, what did you finish up? Was it last year, minor premiers?
Yeah. Yeah, straight sets, boys. Straight sets.
Yeah.
AFL and NRL, straight sets.
Oh, tough. We will circle back to you, Gus, in a second to cover more of the AFL because I've got a lot of questions banked up from other episodes. But Jack and Goody, having your league experts back on, what's your thoughts of the expansion team with the new Bears coming in and now the PNG team? You mentioned, Goody, there before about the Rabidos being like a foundation team, so to speak. Do you think, and starting with you, mate, do you think this is a good thing for the NRL or do you think we're kind of diluting the game too much with all these extra teams?
I think we need to start putting more teams in places where there's already plenty of teams. We don't need any more Queensland teams or New South Wales teams. It is the National Rugby League, so to see it move more nationally, I think it's a good idea. There's a big rugby league heartland in, WA, whatnot. South Sydney have gone over there many times and done really well. Great turnouts, sold out stadiums. I think I've got no problem with expansion, but yeah, we just don't need any more teams in New South Wales and Queensland.
But do you think PNG is the right move though? Or do you keep it within Australia?
Well, I'm on the fence on that one. I'll see how it plays out. I'm not sure on that one, if I'm honest. I want to see how that plays out. I haven't got a strong opinion either way. It's great to include PNG in what we do, but it's, we shouldn't be just flat out funding it. There's got to be some commercial use of having a team there as well.
Hoax, what's your thoughts? I mean, they've put them basically in their own hostel over there, really.
Yeah, well, I suppose I'm lucky enough that I get to coach half a dozen PNG boys at the moment and talk to them a fair bit about it. And, you know, the passion over there is unmatched with any other supporter base. You know, it's like it's their religion. You know, they go to bed praying to their favourite players and they wake up wanting to be like that player. Like, so as far as supporter base and crowds and that sort of stuff goes, it's unmatched to any other team. But the logistics of it, even they reckon, is going to be hell. Like how they stop these blokes from getting swamped and mobbed and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, they don't know how that's going to happen.
Do you think though New Zealand's a bit like missed out? There's an opportunity. Obviously, the Wars, Gus, have started to gain a lot of momentum just over the border. You know, they could easily put one in the over there, which would nearly fit into our NRL system without having to put a lot of extra infrastructure around it. Do you think that could have been a better expansion than PNG? Because a lot of those guys still travel to New Zealand.
New Zealand's got hairs all over it because their religion's union.
That's
every
good.
city,
That's all the promo we needed.
Every boy, every city, everything follows rugby union. So
league is getting very, very popular over there now. Though.
Yeah, but
especially
I think
with the Wars going all right, and I think union is losing popularity. To be fair,
what city would you put the union team in with Chiefs and Hurricanes going so well?
Oh, you'd go Christchurch, South Island, but I don't know. They just built a new stadium. They sold it out. The Wires are there for one game, and it sold out within 20 minutes.
But isn't that a better result?
And you look at the Hurricanes.
Isn't that a better result that the Warriors go and play on the South Island and they sell the stadium out? Why make another team in New Zealand where you get 5,000 people turning out after all the hype's gone? Isn't it better that it's so hyped up that the Warriors are going to the South Island? It's the same around here. Why if people from the Gold Coast want to go and watch Brisbane, and help pack the stadium out, why do we need Gold Coast or whatever it is? It's that's what I think anyway.
Yeah, you're right.
I actually agree with that. Yeah,
you're not growing the game, you're just dividing it in New Zealand. I reckon.
It'd be interesting. I think the PNG team definitely seems to have a lot more recruiting. It looks a lot more positive than the Bears over in Perth. I think they're slowly starting to get a few signings in, but that's another tricky one too, because there's a massive AFL market over there, and rugby union is still quite strong. But they've had some Origin games in the past and some big games travel over there. So, do you think will that option work too, Goody? Do you think that's an option over in WA, or are we still splitting up the market within Australia?
No, I think WA is the opportunity. I'd have a lot more faith in WA working out over PNG. Just sponsorship opportunities, huge mining industry and whatnot in WA. There's just so much opportunity for money to come into the game over there. And you say AFL is really strong. It's really strong. But I think there's more than enough people and opportunity there to fit a league team. I mean, I see WA as a lot better option than Melbourne. If you're trying to make a league team work, you've gone and subsidised and tried to make a league team work in the heartland of AFL. And we've got a team there and they're a very successful team, but I think there's a heap more opportunity in WA. And I think when it comes to PNG, as a comparison, it's going to be a lot easier to convince people to live, in WA than it's going to be to live in PNG. So, how does that look? Is PNG actually based in PNG? Will it be based on the mainland? How does that actually work? It's a tricky one.
But I think the big thing, and Jack touched on it there before, the player group, the pool that you've got from those PNG guys will be huge to fill in. You'll get a few stars over there, like they have with, I think, Jerome Luai signing and I can't remember the other fella. Was it a Rabidos player? I can't remember.
Alex Johnson.
Alex Johnson, sorry. Yeah, if you get a team with some of the local talent around those fellas, it won't take much to make a good team with good coaching too.
You've also got to remember that the Perth thing is Bears base money. So the Bears is such a big franchise that couldn't happen in Sydney. As Alex said, there's too many teams in New South Wales. And you got this massive franchise that, tried to get the Central Coast going. They've tried multiple times to get a team going, and they've got the money, they've got the board, they've got everything's there ready. They've got the feeder clubs. So Perth's just the location for an already existing sporting body, I suppose.
And they're just, off the Bears in Sydney. Sydney Bears, really, isn't it? With it.
Exactly. And it's already that old school supporter base of the Bears.
Just want to go back to a point you said there, Mitch. I Jerome Luai and Alex Johnson. That's your marquee signings. That's going to be that's going to be difficult to build a team around and be successful. Sure, that might get some more, but I genuinely think you're going to have trouble attracting people to again. I'm not sure, if someone else knows, but I'm assuming they're going to be based there, and it's going to be if you're into the culture and that's what you want to do. That's not going to be your top level stars, to really make that work. I think it's going to be a bit of a spectacle for sure. Going to be some excitement around it, but long term success of it, I don't know. I think it's just going to be a money pit.
The only,
Wait.
like, obviously there's a few issues at the moment with the Moana Pacifica Rugby Union Super Rugby team, which, you know, traditionally those island nations were big, massive rugby fans as well, and it's folded. They ran out of money to nearly not even get on the field for the last round of the season. So Fiji have still got their team in, but that, you know, that I'm just not sure. I just think you're right, Goody. I worry that they're not going to get enough marquee players to be super competitive, and the support, you know, within, I don't know. I think, like Jack said, I don't know the local support. If they treat them like gods and turn up to every game and do all that, then they'll probably still find a way to be successful.
I think if your whole marketing ploy is that it's tax-free money, that's got hairs all over it. You know, if you're solely trying to get players to play for you because they can make twice as much money in half as much time, it's, you know, it's very quickly run. You don't get a team. There's no team there. It's a lot of eyes.
Speaking about money, tax-free or taxed, Callum, you wanted to fight Suncorp. You're in a different vehicle, you tell us pre-show. Mate,
I heard the phrase tax-free money and started drooling.
A man always short of $1, but never short of ways to spend it. Mate, what are you up to? Just fill us in, because you're in a different car. Did you find the Fairmont? Is it gone? Is it?
Just fighting a one-man battle against insurance, you know? Just living my best life out here. I love spending hours. Yeah, got you. On?
Yep. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, no, just I love wasting hours of my day on the phone to insurance. It's my favourite way to spend a day. There's no better way to fill your day in than that. It's great.
Has there been any success to talk? Oh.
Well, I mean, they gave me another car after I bitched and moaned, and then they dropped a car off in the driveway today. It used to be mine, but we'll find out how that goes. Anyway, shall we?
So what did they leave in your driveway?
Half a car.
Where's the other half?
Don't know. That was another 2 hours on the phone this afternoon. So I'd love an answer, but I can't get one.
So they've given you half the Falcon back.
Yep. I'm missing the entire front half of it.
Oh. Sorry, you're a bit cutting in and out. Sorry.
Sorry, I'm in a bit of dodgy service. But yeah, they've left me half of it, so should be right. We will endure.
We'll have to get a better update when you're back in home, mate, in front of the laptop. That's nothing shocks me with Callum, with only getting half his car back. Gus, I know you've listened to his stories about how he's made his car worse. This just
I'd love to know what he's done this time.
Gus, now going back through the old lads in lockdown, the Daddy Dan lockdown, what was one of your highlights from being part of that infamous lockdown? Because you were living with your best mate at the time, Clark. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. I think the highlight, or I don't know if it's a highlight or a low light, but we snuck off to Adelaide. You were there too, Mitch, to the cricket.
I did. Yes.
As soon as the borders were open, and went to the cricket, went to the Ashes, come back home. This was just prior to Christmas, and I think we got back on the 22nd or something, and went to go to work on the 23rd. Anyway, Clark has the sniffles, and anyway, tested positive to COVID, and so we had to go into lockdown over Christmas, New Year. Put all my colleagues in lockdown over Christmas, New Year as well, so they couldn't go and see their families and that. And it was just, anyway, and we just spent 2 weeks drinking and playing backyard cricket while having COVID.
That was weird, because I was the only one out of all of us that didn't get the COVID. Get the spicy golf.
Well, yeah. No, you didn't, did you?
No. What, I don't know what you two boys got up to.
Bloody Mexicans.
Yeah. Now, Gus, we've spoke about expansion briefly in the NRL. The AFL are trying to follow suit and move into their own different country. They're travelling across to Tassie to start a team down in Van Diemen's land. But how is that looking? Do you think that's a good move for the competition as well, or what's your thoughts around that?
I think it is. Like, they'll be well followed. Like, Tassie people are a bit, well, you know, only like Tasmania. They've got like Hawthorn go down there and play 3 or 4 games, and North Melbourne play maybe 2 or 3. I actually think North Melbourne has stopped doing that already. But like it'll be good. But then the part of the deal was they had to build a new stadium, had to be undercover, and then I think I don't know who's in charge. Is it Liberal or Labor down there? But anyway, they were going to build a new stadium, and now the people who have voted, like the people have voted him out because they don't want to spend the money. Like it's a waste of money. They reckon building a stadium. So, and for some reason the AFL want a stadium with a roof because God forbid they play in a cold place in a winter sport. But no, they are. Well, I don't know what's going on with the stadium, but they're coming into the AFL in 2028, I think. And the VFL teams coming this year, I think.
Yep.
So there's all talk in the media at the moment about who's going to coach them. I reckon Nathan Buckley will coach them. Used to be coach of Collingwood.
He did throw his hat in the ring, I noticed.
Yeah, I reckon he will. And then they'll start getting players, signing players on. So I think it's a good place to go to the game. It was either going there or going to Darwin.
Should it have stayed just as an exhibition match place instead of getting their own team?
I think there's enough talent down there. Like there's enough players to probably warrant another team, but the AFL just want more money, I suppose.
Yeah, well, they can't really expand internationally.
No. Well, they tried taking games internationally and that didn't work real well.
Do they still do the game against with the Irish?
Every 3 years, I think. Every 2 or 3 years they do Aussie, international rules. And it's basically Gaelic. They just play with a round ball and they just pick all the best players.
James, we called it Beals' Best back in the day, which was your movie review. Mate, you're still toiling away at it, mate, and added your spiels to your list of achievements, mate. Have you got a spiels for us that you want the group, or you got a movie review, mate? What have you brought to the special Lads in Lockdown reunion episode?
I've got a movie review, a new one that come out at the start of this year, I think. Yeah. Send Help. I just recently watched it. It's on Disney Plus. It's kind of a horror comedy movie. It's
a horror comedy.
Yes. It's hard to explain. You kind of have to watch it to know what I mean. But yes, it's directed by M. Night Shyamalan. I think that's his name, the director of The Sixth Sense and all those sort of movies. So there's always a twist at the end. And it's got Rachel McAdams in it and Dylan O'Brien, I think is his name. And he's the CEO of the company. He's kind of a bit of a pain in the ass for everyone that works for him. She's like a analyst, tech expert, bit of a dork, kind of does a bit of a loner, doesn't fit in. Their plane crashes when they're going on this business trip. They're the only two survivors on this tropical island. And at first, you kind of get the vibe that it's like a romantic comedy, but towards the end, it kind of gets really dark and weird. And she's kind of a bit of a survival expert, and it starts to really. It was a good twist at the end. I didn't see it coming. I'd give it 3.5 out of 5. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
There's one particular scene involving a rat. I won't spoil it more than that, but anyone who's watched it will know exactly what I mean. It's very,
Goody,
very...
You're laughing there, mate. Have you seen the movie, mate? Are you going to watch it just to find out?
You just sold more tickets than anybody else feels like. There's a rat, and that's all going to. Well, I've got to watch it now.
When you see it, you'll know what I mean. I think every person really felt that. Mate, I really was quite disturbed in that moment. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good twist at the end that I didn't really see coming. It was all right.
Beals, well, we've got you on that, and again, smashed it. Great movie review.
Thank you.
Now, I wanted to touch on another thing. 2 of the members here are still hanging on to their sporting careers. Jack, you mentioned earlier in the show that you are captain coach at the moment, or is it just coach?
Well, No, I've managed to put the jersey on for 6 out of 7, so we'll call it vice captain coach at this stage.
Yeah, but how is it, mate? The Cootamundra rugby team playing. You're obviously the star halfback in the team.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far, but no, it's good. It's really, we started the year with our goal of not forfeiting. A bit of a club rebuild, lost a lot of players, and we're 4 wins, 3 losses midway through the season, sitting 4th on the ladder, top 4 make the finals. I think we're sitting pretty bloody awesome compared to what we expected at the start of the year, and our new goal is making finals and going as far as we can into finals, because anything can happen there. So, pretty happy.
Mate, you're also lucky enough to be playing with your brother, Big Jim. What's that like to, 1, play with him, and 2, trying to coach him? Does he listen?
Yeah, well, he was a bit of a long shot recruit, I suppose, living 400 k's away. But he's managed to play. What's he play? He's played 3 out of the 7, and he's actually moved back to the postcode today. So we should get 7 from 7 from him in the last sort of half of the season, and that's a big positive because he's a good footballer. He's a lot better than I'll ever
be. He's got the height. We spoke about this at the super level with rugby struggling, and obviously Tommy and myself are rugby fanatics and love the sport, but you've got basically your coaching there at the moment. You said too, like, your main challenge was to not forfeit. Mate, how's the ground grassroots rugby looking? Is it struggling? Is the World Cup getting more interest in the game, or what are you seeing?
It's shit house.
Yep.
There's too many blue bloods in rugby that think that the sun shines out of their ass and it kills grassroots country rugby. So I think there's a lot to be said about how much hard work goes into rugby clubs, and we're trying to keep things alive with little to zero support from up above, and coming from a league background, it's a huge gap between the support you get from up above with rugby league compared to the support you get from up above with rugby union. So you can see why it's dying. It's hard. It's hard because it's a good game, and we all love it. So it sucks.
Just even some of the higher level stuff. Like, I just watched the Super Rugby Brumbies play Hurricanes there before, and the atmosphere there is nothing compared to what it used to be, 2 or 3, 4 years ago. Even Brumbies games, like, they played their last home game last weekend, and barely anyone in that stadium. But you get the Raiders playing there, and it's packed for a normal weekly round game.
Well, you look at, say, Cootamundra, you've got a junior rugby league club that fields every age group from under 5s to under 15s, boys and girls, multiple teams per age group. And then you look at the rugby union, and I think there's an under 8s, an under 10s, and an under 12s, and that's it.
So they don't do the older age groups? Where do they go from there?
They go to boarding school, is what they say. So, apparently, you lose, as soon as a kid who wants to play rugby union turns 12, they go away from school. So, I don't know. Or they just go to league. One or the other.
Well, but Goody, you played a fair bit of league in your time growing up, mate, locally around the area, and obviously played a bit when you came to Wagga at uni. Do you still see the local league guys around your area? Is it still strong on the weekend?
It's all very cyclic here. Like, you've got fairly strong local competition in Group 7. Like, the local club that I played for, Berry Magpies, this year they've got all 3 grades plus women's league tag going really strong. Competitive in first grade. I mean, it's been a while since that's happened. It just seems very cyclic here. It was only a few years ago where you had the Shirehaven Jets. So, such a strong team, winning the competition, whatnot. I believe they won the competition, and I'm pretty sure not a very strong presence at all anymore. So just cyclic. But then at the same time, with rugby, the Shoally's rugby going really, really well. So, it's just cyclic. At least here in this area is too. But it's become harder and harder for young young guys to play grade footy just with the commitments of jobs and commitments of debt and everything like that now, like it's such a high risk to go and play sport and get injured and potentially not be able to work and pay your mortgage. I think obviously that's been a problem for a while, but it's getting more and more serious with cost of living and all that sort of thing, which is probably something we don't consider.
One thing I wanted to ask, Goody, probably never asked you this before, but your time, are they still involve you a lot with the club, like as an old boy or as mentors or coaches, or do you still go down to the local games, when there's a big match-up on or your arch rival, or how does that work?
Yeah, for sure. There's the Old Boys Days. They call it the Magpie Cup as well. So following Old Boys Day, we have an evening where we dress up and go in under the grandstand, have a few boat races, things like that. So yeah, it's still great to be involved with the club. There's still the invitation every year to go and play for them, but yeah, I think my body's finally overpowering my mind as to who's saying what we're going to do. So yeah.
Yeah. Just on that one, Mitch, we happened to walk into a cafe there a month ago to get a coffee, me and Alex, and here's an old boy you played with there going, we're all back, Alex, all the boys are back from the golden era, we're all playing again, we're all there, you got to come play. So to answer your question, yes, all the boys are back and Alex is not back.
Not back. What are they playing back grade, or what are they doing?
Yeah, they're all playing reserve grade, and having a lot of fun doing it. It's good. Look, it's something I definitely, potentially at a different stage in my life, I'd love to do, but I always love playing football. I have sort of moved on from it. My interests and whatnot. I don't know how you say it without sounding like you're up yourself and you're a wanker, but there's something when you play sport at a really high level that at some point when you can't do it as well as you want to anymore, you move on from it and still support the boys and all the rest of it. But yeah, you sort of know the standard you should play it at, and when you can't play it at that standard anymore, you sort of lose interest a little bit. At least I have. So yeah.
100%. And from my memory of your playing career, Goody, and Jack can attest to this, you had what could only be described as a Bluetooth shoulder there at one stage where it would disconnect when it felt like it. It loved popping out every now and again. So.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That was my end, was my shoulder. I mean, there's been plenty of times it's decided to disconnect outside of playing football as well, as we're all pretty aware of. So.
Yeah, the old I remember one time
playing cricket in the hallways at Stewards.
Oh, mate, cricket in the hallway, throwing what was it? Wrestling with the boys for beer, fist bumping in a nightclub in Bali, getting out of the pool,
wrestling,
putting a jacket on, mate. If
about Texas.
Oh, yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember that. I don't remember being there. Gus, you're still hanging on to your heyday a bit like Jack. How do you see the local footy, mate? Is it still strong? Is the AFL completely different to our league and union?
Nah, not really. Like we're really fortunate at our club. Like we started the season with like an extra team missing out from reserves. Like
really,
we had 20 something blokes extra that were missing out, which we're counting on now because there's a lot of injuries. But like during the week, our reserves coach got a phone call from Mathiara's coach wondering if we had any spare players, and it's not real good. Like there's a lot of the big farming towns, like big farming families, they're just not there anymore, and a lot of teams are struggling. Like there's a lot of teams that don't have a under 17s at the moment. Like fourth seem to be pretty good, so under 14s, but yeah, a lot of those sort of 14 to 18-year-olds, and then a lot of reserves teams are really struggling, and even some of the senior teams, like we came up against Rennie on the weekend in the seniors, and it was 250 to 10 or something, I think was the score. Like we'd kicked 15 goals in the first quarter. And that's pretty.
That's a pretty comprehensive
shit.
win.
It was very. We had eight of the best players out of the seniors. So, but like it's not enjoyable for anyone. Like it's not enjoyable to win that game, let alone lose it. So. But yeah, like our club's we're pretty lucky. We're pretty fortunate. So How long that
do you
lasts,
think
who
that-
knows?
Now let's move on to something that we know very little about because we're probably up to that stage now, agriculture. And I know absolutely zero about that. But Goody, come across my desk the other day that you were actually emceeing a dairy event, which is awesome. Congratulations on running such a successful event. But question I had for you, mate, off the bat was, how do you go from interviewer to interviewee? On the video I saw, you were the bloke really just took the reins. He took the alpha mood and put the questions back on you, mate.
Oh, it's one of the pleasures of working with people who know how to work a crowd and work a room is they can do things like that, do it flawlessly, don't make you feel uncomfortable. Yeah, I mean, I think it really fed into the success of the night and the talk. Of course, yeah, got to talk on stage with Big Farmer Andy from Queensland. And yeah, it was a great experience. And like you said, yeah, I went from being the interviewer to the interviewee, very quick. But yeah, definitely played into the whole vibe of the night. It was good, you know, low key, just relaxed. And yeah, Andy was great. I really enjoyed it. So.
Awesome. And just touching on that too, mate, you've obviously running a dairy farm yourself down the South Coast at the moment. Tell us a bit about that, mate. What's been happening? Has it dried out since 4 years ago?
Yeah, finally, hopefully we'll hopefully have a good season this year, and we've had some, last couple of seasons have been pretty good. Milk price is strong. Cows are performing well. We've made some changes in our business with milking 3 times a day. It's been a big step up for us in production, which has been great. And yeah, there's some goalposts nearly on the horizon for us with paying for our cows, being all finished up at the end of this year, and looking forward to the future. We've got some other big plans and whatnot. Going forward from there. So yeah, good time to be in the dairy industry, I think.
Mate, awesome effort. And just going back to that dairy group, is that an initiative that you've started, or you're working with other, dairy guys with your same age in the area, or what's the go with that?
No, so South Coast Southern Islands Dairy Industry Group's a body that's been around for decades. Fell, like a lot of things, fell into a bit of a hole of despair around COVID. Just obviously no social events. People lost interest, lost contact. We sort of rebooted it 18 months ago, 2 years ago. And that group's for farmers of all ages, farm workers, industry people. I'm the chair of that group. And I've got a really good committee of good people around me that make me look good, make my job easy. Running that event, sure, I spoke and I was at the front, but that was about 5% of what actually went on. So great group of people to work with. And yeah, responsible for that group is responsible for organising things like our youth fever vaccines, things like that. As like an industry support thing, you have to put what we've done is organise, 10 people at a time to go to the doctors to get vaccinated as a group, and that registry happens through us. So just different little industry things that help out industry in our area. That's what we're about. So yeah.
Awesome, mate. Yeah, and congratulations. It's a massive thing to take on the a role like that. Goody, is there any other big things on the horizon? Any big events that you want to plug, mate, or push with the association, or any big things you're working on?
No, mate, we're taking a bit of a breather at the moment. That event took a fair bit of energy. We're just having a breather and focusing probably on ourselves. I've got some projects in the works in the next little while. Won't divulge too much until I get a bit more certainty around that. But yeah, watch this space.
Geez, you are media trained. Apart from the fact that you're wearing a dyed shirt.
Yeah.
There's no more controversial shots at Sleepy Joe Biden anymore. Like, what's changed?
Well, look, that's probably one thing for me. I've had a great opportunity to be part of the Farmer Ambassador program through Dairy Australia. Good program that is about farmers supporting their own industry, and whether that be at schools, whether that be my goal is to do some public speaking, things like that. Get to a wider audience, but literally can be as simple as having the facts and information at your fingertips, so that when you're having a conversation at the supermarket with someone about milk or about the dairy industry, you can be accurate and you can inform people, in a nice, polite way that really supports our industry.
Yeah, we'll have to get you on for your own episode to talk about this, Goody. But before we move
Don't
on
need to
to
do
some
that.
other pressing ag topics, what do you see the one biggest challenge, like as brief as you can be, in the dairy industry at the moment? And like, is there an achievable way to overcome it?
Yeah, biggest problem at the moment is finding farmers. That's going to be the biggest issue, is finding people to run the businesses to milk cows. And the solution to it is be more transparent about how people can get into the industry and build pathways and support networks for that.
I did see that, and on that too, mate, I did see the initiative that you guys have done, and obviously other dairy farmers with the Women in Dairy day that was up on socials there last week.
Yeah, so of course, first
that was cool to see people behind.
Yeah, 1st of June was International World Milk Day, and this year's theme was, I'm trying to get it exactly right. It's about basically supporting the women that bring you your morning milk. That was something along those lines. Yeah, but yeah, women in dairy. Yeah.
Just, I thought I'd throw a question at Jack while he's got a mouthful of food. But, mate, you've been asking to talk a bit more about ag. Mate, what part of ag do you specifically want to talk about, Jack?
I've just been asking for ag because that's what we all know. It's what we live and breathe. It's what, we all do. Even Bealey does a bit of ag. He drops steel off to farmers and shit like that. So,
yeah,
I suppose,
very little.
We go on a podcast. You want to talk about things you know, and ag's what we know. So
put it in context,
well,
man. You spoke about it for an hour and a half on the phone the other day. That's how much we love ag.
100%.
Yes.
So I suppose let's start with the budget, righto? So we got a government out there that obviously does not care about farmers, because the budget is really showing a hell of a lot of faith towards the farming community. What do you reckon, Gus, about the budget?
Well, it's got none, isn't it?
Was there a budget? Was there a budget for agriculture? I don't think there was there?
Exactly. Suddenly you got the, people like myself and Alex and even in Gus, staring in the barrel of, potentially there could be a farm, in succession or in a will that gets passed down that you can't afford no more. And what's that for good agriculture going forward, or a good future?
Goody, you're our international correspondent, but I remember you talking about, and maybe the rest of the group, in Europe, don't they do that weird succession tax or whatever it's called over there at the moment? And that's really tore some farms apart.
I'm not 100% sure whether it got introduced or it's still, just a hot button issue, but inheritance tax is a big problem. These farms are not making massive amounts of profit, despite the fact that they're worth millions of dollars. So to tax them based on their worth of the asset they sit on doesn't correspond to the performance of the business, and that's not really the farmer's fault. It's not their fault that they're in close proximity to a city, as to why they're so expensive. That you're not wealthy until you cash that farm in, and is that really what we want to encourage farmers to do? Sell up to pay tax debts? Funnily enough, superannuation funds and whatnot are all exempt from all this. So it just comes back to this never-ending obsession of Labor governments to centralise and basically follow a socialist communist regime. It's really scary what's happening, where they're trying to take money from. Yeah, we can't tax gas, just cannot do it. It is impossible, cannot be done. Cannot put a 25% tax on gas. Yeah.
It's just, and you touched on a point there before, selling up farms to pay debt. But scary thing is, and I don't know the facts off the top of my head, maybe this one for you, Bills, but fair few of the corporate farms that I'm aware of are all super fund owned in Australia. I'd love to know what percentage of land is owned by superannuation funds, and they're going to be exempt to that tax is kind of what the fine print says, really, doesn't it?
Well, that's Australian superannuation funds, but there's also the international superannuation funds. Like, some of the biggest owners of land in Australia are Canadian superannuation funds. So, and we're not seeing any tax, well, very little tax revenue from them. I'd have to check the figures exactly, but it's just jobs promised to politicians post their political careers are just ruling what our political class is doing at the moment, and it's just wrong.
I couldn't agree more. I think some of the stuff that, like the independents, like David Pocock and that, were talking about with the gas tax, it's amazing how it passes the pub test, so to speak, but they don't seem to see it in Canberra. They don't seem to want to pass the bill. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Jack, you're currently on a family farm at the moment, mate. Is the inheritance tax a concern for you guys with the new budget and the way it's looking and how they're trying to punish, the farming industry is what it sounds like.
Oh, absolutely. Rough figures, right? Potentially mum and dad brought farmland for $1,000 an acre. They pass it on to you when farmland's currently worth $8,000 an acre. What the government's proposing is that they'll tax you on that $7,000 of capital gain per acre. So, you suddenly throw 1,000 acres into the equation, $7,000, $7 million you're getting taxed on, 30% is CGT tax. So suddenly you're like, what's that? $2.1 million you got to come up with. And then with the way farming is at the moment with margins, it's like, how could you ever possibly add another $2.1 million to your current farm debt and pay it off? So of course it's worrying. It's hugely worrying, but the new government will come in and it'll get scrapped. So probably don't worry about it too much.
But you worry about these things because how close it can get to actually happening. And the other point I'd like to bring up is that it's so bloody hard to get into farming to begin with. Like, if you want to go out and buy a farm from scratch, unless you've got a fair bit of money behind you, it's nearly impossible. Well, I'm going to say it's near on impossible to start from scratch without a family farm or without a backing from some super significant amount. Like, if people start selling up family farms, then who's going to buy the land up? Is it just going to go to foreign investment?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I would say that mum and dad would be the last generation, to start from scratch and be able to do it. They worked their ass off for 10 years in other jobs, brought a farm from scratch, no outside help, machinery from scratch, zero outside help. And that farm was able to support a family through school. And then to be able to grow into a business it is today, I think that's, that was 2005 that happened. I think that's, like you said, it's impossible now.
Gus, you're also from I think your family still got a bit of dairy country down in Victoria, but what's it like down there? What's the feeling like with those Victorian dairy farming areas, mate? Are they under the same pressure? Is the budget affecting them in the same way or differently?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Like, even there's a lot of farms coming on the market down this way, and they're certainly not moving like they were 3 or 4 years ago. 3 or 4 years ago, they weren't even hitting the market. They were just privately selling. Like anyone that's gone out and forked out a lot of money in the last few years, like, the values are starting to slowly come back on anything that is selling. It's pretty tough times at the moment. Like Jack said, the margins are just not there, and a lot of guys trying to get out.
So, like, here's a question for you, Gus, right, and Alex. Right, so we got Alex saying that the dairy industry is the best it's ever been, and we got you, Gus, saying that dairy guys are tired down there. They want to get out. The money's not there. What's gone wrong?
Well,
You go, Joe.
I can't speak on behalf of Gus, but it depends what your motivation is. If you want to go farming, I can't think of a better industry than dairy, just purely based on cash flow, and the opportunity to be extremely profitable because of the widespread of the ability of people that are still in the industry. Must just be my algorithm at the moment, but I've seen 2 or 3 stories in the last couple of days about people that started with virtually nothing, started with leasing, buying a herd, and now have businesses worth millions of dollars, essentially from scratch. If you change your view that owning land is everything to land is just a necessary evil to operate my dairy business, I can build a lot of wealth in cows, in all types. It's using cows as a cash flow tool. You can then do off-farm investment and build your portfolios that way. It doesn't have to be, I've got to go get a loan for $5 million to buy a farm. That's my perspective on the dairy industry. But obviously for people who want to buy land, it's all difficult. What do you think, Gus?
Yeah, like I mean, down this way, like too, there's a lot of competition for the land too. So like anything that gets leased out, like you've got all these cropping guys. Probably the last, probably not this year, but like the last probably 3 or 4, they've had record breaking years, up one after the other. Like I was going through some figures with a client today, and his 5 years prior to 2020 were 5 of his worst, and then the 5 years since then have been his best 5. So the cropping guys have been growing. That's been like pushing the price up, and then the last 2 years here, the water prices really probably impacting the dairy farmers a lot. Like I think water is about $400 a meg at the moment, and it's looking like it's going to get worse. So, you're relying on that to grow your feed base. And yeah, there's probably a lot of guys down here too that like don't want to change what they're doing either. Like I think the ones that are the dairies that are sort of humming along and going well are the ones that have adapted early. Like they've either put sheds up or gone down a different way of doing it, not just growing ryegrass. Like especially like down here, like I think growing ryegrass is probably not the way to go with volatility and the water job down here going forward.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you. I mean, do you think that is part of it? The lack of perhaps the average age of the farmers that are still in the industry there, and then the lack of willingness to change on the back of, like you say, like how can a guy make money out of crop, but a dairy farmer can't make money out of it when the dairy farmer's got so much more capacity to value add on that crop? Like it doesn't make sense mathematically, but like say, if all you want to do is irrigate ryegrass in 40-degree weather, you're probably going to go backwards. Is that a fair point?
Yeah, and I think I'd say the ones that are going really well are probably, or the ones that I have exposure to, are the ones that have young, like either kids that are getting involved or are young, so they got 2 or 3 kids back on the farm, or like they're really, I suppose they're really sort of kicking goals. But then you get quite a few that are hitting close to retirement age and there's no succession, and they just sort of, I guess they sort of just ride off into the sunset a little bit, so to speak.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge going forward.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Goody.
It's just going to be a challenge going forward. It's the same thing you said all the time. Like farms that have the potential to be good, profitable farms are going to go on the market in the end of a family farm because they can't figure out that succession plan. That's all very negative around how it could be done.
Probably throw a bit to Jack now too, where I suppose not everywhere can. Well, actually, no. This is a question, Goody. Do you think everywhere can run a dairy farm, or you're just limited by obviously water, natural resources, spots like that? Like there used to be dairy farms around everywhere, didn't there? Used to be small micro dairies around pretty much most parts of a lot of old farming areas, didn't it?
Oh, I wouldn't even say that, like, you don't need everywhere to be dairy farms because there's already that much capital that exists around the country that is sitting idle, not being used. You don't need to go and pour concrete if you want to get into it. Like, you just need to find and this is the breakdown of the link between young people and people that want to retire. We've got capital sitting there. We've got dairy sitting there not being utilised. We've got dairy herds being sold up and traded for beef herds. And concrete sitting idle, So I don't see the point in pouring new concrete and building a dairy in what is, dry land, wheat area. There's no supporting infrastructure, there's no service industry, but the places where dairy has been strong, there's just capital sitting idle, not doing anything, and that means there's a huge opportunity to utilise that and make money as a young person, I think.
Yeah, totally. I suppose I look at it and I've been looking for a couple of years of trying to find different ways of stepping into the farming world, without having family farm on the background or anything like that. And that's not a barrier. There is obviously other ways, but, trying to look into leasing a farm. Jack touched on it before, but the margins are so tight to lease a block at the moment, unless you've got, like, especially in cropping, you've got to carry that debt from sowing all the way through with all your inputs to harvest at the back end of the year. I mean, obviously grazing helps offset a bit of that cost too, but without having a massive amount of funds there to survive that first bit, all that probably more that cash flow which the dairy provides, I see that as a benefit because what you guys are getting a milk check monthly, which does help with the cash flow overall, doesn't it?
Oh, 100%. But this is the problem too. Like, I think there's a bit of a romanticizing of cropping and whatnot that like, oh, that's farming. And it's like, well, sure, it's a type of farming, but you generally transition into that as your operation becomes more stable, because it is a fantastic lifestyle way to do things. Like it's a hell of a lot less intense than dairy farming 7 days a week. But it then reflects in the margins of it. Like you can't, as your business stabilizes, your debt's under control, your debt to equity ratio is good. Yeah, cropping looks better and better because you've got the equipment, you set up, you're ready to do it. It is as simple as it costs me this much per hectare per year. I make back this much. But yeah, the margins are not in it to start out from scratch. So you just don't do that. It's shit, and people don't want to hear that. But yeah, it's the reality of it. You got to look where there's opportunity.
Jack, you've obviously dealt with a lot of farmers, a lot of different people, different perspectives, and even in your own farming enterprise that you're slowly building up on yourself. How have you found it, mate? What's the biggest challenges for guys you think in this area about our age getting into the farming area industry?
I just think at the moment, the last probably 10 years, it's just margin. It's everything is so tight that instead of a mixed farmer farming for what he likes to do and being able to support his family and grow, he now has to pull every lever in his favour or he doesn't make money. And then it puts the pressure on the likes of, us agros that you get asked these questions, right? What am I going to do with this acre or this hectare to make the most money? And it's an unknown question. In a mixed farming scenario, like I suppose it goes back to the, defunding of the DPI, you'd think we'd have these answers that, right, you're in this part of the world, you do this is going to make you the most money per hectare. We don't have that. So it's like, it just comes back to a farmer's gut feel, his advisor's gut feel, and they've got to try and then go from there to work out really what is the most money they can make on that hectare of land that they own. And I suppose that's the biggest battle at the moment for, the biggest questions they could ask and the biggest battle we get is are we doing the right thing? One, and then how do we do that thing the best to create that, that little bit of profit at the end or just get by, and it's quite a scary sort of thought, I suppose.
So like, say, just for argument's sake, someone like myself that's been working in the industry for a while now, how would how do you think, is there any possible way for myself to get into eventually buying a farm?
I think you need support. You need to find either an old cocky or an outside investor or someone who's willing to support your dream and your drive. I think that's probably the first avenue to get in. And secondly, at the moment with land price and interest rates, it's over a third more expensive to buy land and pay the interest than it is to lease it and farm it. So, for every dollar you spend leasing, that's, 3 times as much hectares as you would if you're buying it and paying the interest. So I think maybe, yes, leasing is more risky and yes, there's no capital gains, but if you want to try and get yourself into the game, you got to, have a crack, take that risk. And leasing might be your avenue if you're good and you do everything right. That might be avenue to create some momentum to then buy some land and have a bit of security.
And get the season to go with you.
Yeah, that's the hardest part in our part of the world. It's so undetermined.
For you, Jack, too, and the other thing too that you probably haven't touched on is commodity pricing too, because that's the one that you can get to the end of the year and do everything right and have a bloody good crop, and then it'd be worth bugger all.
Yeah, or you go to start your year and Trump decides to bomb Iran, and next minute you're paying 3 or 4 or 5 times the price on commodities. So, and that's not something you can control yourself, which is really frustrating.
Mate, in your side of things, from your business side, Jack, is expansion on the cards? Are you thinking of just settling down and capitalising what you got? Like, what's kind of your steps forward?
I think expansion is always on the cards for 90% of growers, including myself. Like, you expand because you want to A, live more comfortably, B, create wealth for future generations, I suppose, is your biggest reason why you expand. And a lot of, you probably get lazy if you don't have that drive to expand. So it's always on the cards to expand. It's just the daunting realization of how the hell you do that. How the fuck am I going to expand when, you can barely make a profit? You can spend $1 million a year and there's 20 grand that comes in the backside in the positive.
But I suppose, like you said, you're looking at long term. You can't really look at year to year in that aspect, can you? You got to kind of work through it and set yourself up for long term.
Yeah. And I think too, like, you do it because you love it. You do it because it's a lifestyle. And, on a more positive note, that's why farmers are farmers, because they love it and they love the lifestyle and they love everything they do about it. And they're not there to make money. It's the worst business decision ever. But, we do it because we love it. So it's as simple as that. So, you listen to a lot of podcasts with business gurus and budgeters and that, and they frown upon farming and agriculture because it is the worst business on a balance sheet. But why do we do it? Because we love watch things grow. We love to produce a product at the end. We love to feed the nation. All them sort of things is what gets you out of bed. It's what gets Alex out of bed at 4 a.m. in the morning. It's what makes Gus work from the sun up to sundown to grow the best crop he possibly can.
Yes, totally.
We love it.
What is lease country worth up there?
Oh,
probably $100, 100 or 120 an acre.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got some down here like nudging 200 down here.
Yeah.
For
dry
irrigation wouldn't be what's
for dry.
What's the value of that acre to buy it?
7 or 8.
Yeah. So we're probably six to 7,000 an acre. You're paying 100 or 120 to lease it.
Yeah.
With no, obviously.
Which is bizarre. Like $200 is a lease. You got to grow. Like, you basically got to grow 3 ton or more of wheat to pay the lease. Then you got to pay. Then you got to grow another 3 to pay to grow the crop. And our long term average is 4 ton. Like,
it'd be interesting to track the people paying that and see if they can survive it.
See how long they're doing it.
Yeah.
There is a few down here. So.
It's a balancing, like it always used to talk about. They always used to talk about the scale. Like if you got big, things got cheaper, got easier to run. I've not actually sat down and done the figures on it, but surely there's got to be a limit where that lease fund, no matter how big you are to begin with, still starts to cut into your bottom line and not worth the value, isn't it? Or is it still getting bigger, is still more economically worth it?
Well, it's one of the challenges where I think some of the, cropping, mixed farming systems need to get a better hold on the figures of how these businesses work, because when we look at it in the dairy industry, there's no link between getting bigger and getting more profitable. The average, the most profitable size dairy farm in Australia is still 300 to 400 cows. Yet there's much bigger farms than that, and there's much smaller farms than that. What's critical in the dairy industry is understanding the system that works where you are and doing that system to the best of your ability. And having a conversation with Jack about this the other day, it is really difficult to put all those numbers together to understand what is the most profitable thing you can do on that farm, because it changes every year in a mixed farming operation. It'll never be the same. 1 year sheep will be the best, the next year cropping will be, the year after that, not doing anything is probably the best option. Like, it is so difficult, but it's the numbers you need if you're going to be successful and make it work.
Do you think it comes down to the balance of your enterprise though, Goody? Like with your industry, for example, you've got all your eggs in one basket being the milk side of things and obviously the milk byproducts and all that, where your mixed farmers, you've obviously got your grain, your livestock, different avenues of making money? Or do you think diversifying makes it more complicated and therefore you're not focusing as much on one of the enterprises?
Well, it's not really fair to say that all your eggs are in one basket. I mean, the beauty, and again, this is another reason it's great about dairy farming, is that you've got a cull cow that you sell that's worth only slightly less than what you paid for as a producing animal. That changeover could be $1,000 on, which is great for an animal that's probably going to produce you. Oh God, who knows? I'd have to look at it, but probably $50,000 for her life. She could produce you in milk income, and how many calves she had and what are they worth, and you can sell them. So and they are different. They are different, slightly different enterprises. You know, you're running a beef enterprise and a replacement enterprise and a milk enterprise. And in all of that, you are a cropper, just that you're taking the crop that you're growing and you're putting it in this machine that is a cow and you're value adding it. You know, you're doing the manufacturing process that, you know, selling it to someone else would do. You know, so it's not as simple to say that all your eggs are in one basket. There are so many levers you can pull, but it is a simpler business to analyze because essentially it is how much did it cost me to get that milk, and this is what I got back. How much did it cost me to grow that young animal? What did that cow produce throughout her life, and what did she cost me? You know, and that's where it's simpler. And obviously, it can be done for mixed farming. And I've had that conversation with Jack about the businesses that seem to do the best in mixed farming are the ones that maintain diversity, that have different options and different levers to pull in different years. You know, the farm that decides they're going to go to, oh, we're just going to do barley and canola, or we're just going to do wheat and canola, and we're going to get rid of sheep. Like, yeah, just as soon as you remove that diversity out of the operation, you remove your flexibility and the option to capitalize on what's going to do better that year.
Here's a question for us all. Do we think technology in farming is helping, or is it just reducing our margins?
Like, what type of technology though, Jack? Are you talking like GPS technology or AI or
Well, just
Any of
in
it.
general, like think about like, you know, a farming family 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, who could farm quite easily, I suppose, per se, still work hard, but farm quite easily and simply, support a whole family and grow with as much as a bloody old Massey Fergie and a one-way furrow plough. Like, you know, it seems to be the more technologically advanced we get, the bigger the tractors become, the more expensive they become, the more tech that comes out, then the more expensive it becomes, the margin gets less, and the harder it is to get a profit off that hectare. And so you need to get bigger to be able to make the same amount of money. So, like, we're all pushing tech and we're all pushing, you know, easier ways to farm, but is that making the end goal harder? I suppose the end goal of being able to just farm comfortably and make money harder.
Well, I think the answer in that is that if again you take the dairy industry as an example, is that if you looked at it over the last 40 years, you'd say, oh, well, that industry is a bad industry. It's shrunk. There's less people in it. There's less milk. Milk supply is dropping. Yet that is correlated to basically matching domestic consumption, which has then increased the price as we've actually created demand for more milk. So you're right. I think as we've expanded, we've moved into the global economy, we compete against countries that pay subsidies for the same products that we produce, and we keep getting better at it. We keep getting more technology, more efficient tractors, bigger tractors, better chem, more expensive chem, all the rest of it, because that margin keeps getting squeezed and the people we compete against aren't on a level playing field. It's like you're 100% right. It's not helping, but you don't really, you're sort of forced into it and you don't have a choice. But also in that too, would you agree? I would think that your parents today, my parents today, live a lot more comfortable life than what people did 60 years ago. You know, so what our appetite is for as a lifestyle is a lot different as well, and what we need to
Yeah,
fund.
potentially. But I suppose the dairy industry is the perfect example. Like, you know, look at your dairy now, right? However many side stalls it is, quite low tech per dairy standards internationally, but very profitable because you haven't reinvented the wheel. You're just growing good grass, milking cows, getting lots of milk, and there's not as much overheads as, say, throwing in a whole lot of robots and spending a shitload of money to really get the same result.
Yeah, but I think the thing that we're missing there is that the technology actually that's been invested into the industry is genetics. You know, the capability of those animals to create milk from the feed you're growing And that's where, again, it probably comes back to these mixed farming operations, really understanding it's probably not the GPS or the whatever it is that's really going to make you more money. Is it actually the genetics of your sheep, the genetics of your crop? You know, what is it, the technology that is actually going to make you more profitable against everybody else?
Isn't the technology, though, Jack, and a lot of it in that farming space, to do with more utilizing that farming unit, that labour unit, making it more efficient, like, and saving more money overall, and being more accurate with your applications, no double up, overlaps, that every hectare's working for you? Like, isn't that supposed to be where the profitability comes from?
Yeah, I think, and Gus, you can agree or disagree here, but I think 10 years ago, yes, or 15 years ago, yes. But we're now at a point that a tractor's costing, $500,000 or $600,000 when, 10 years ago it costed $200,000 and nothing's changed at the end, at the farm gate price, nothing's changed. But they keep saying it's better, it's easier, it's more technologically advanced, and so it costs more. But it hasn't made you any more money than the tractor 15 years ago made you, I suppose.
Yeah.
They break down a lot more too, and you can't fix them yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I had a grower that got a new tractor 2 months ago, I think. He got a Fent this time, but 2 years ago he got a John Deere and he went to replace it, and it was 120 grand more than it was 2 years ago. Nothing changed. Nothing's changed in it at all. And he's like, "Why's the price gone up?" And they're like, "Oh, it's because it's a new model." And he's like, "Nothing's changed in it though." So he went and bought a Fent, which is now cheaper than the John Deere.
And the thing is, like, that's exactly the technology that's causing the problem, Mitch, is that, like, we need to get a more efficient per labour unit and whatever else. It's like, you need to do
Yeah.
more with whatever, is it's like, right, so now you don't employ people. So the town shrinks. There's not enough money to go around the town. These towns become, nothing anymore because we can't afford to have them because we're getting more efficient. But it's a race to the bottom. It is just, it's every hectare makes less margin, so I need more hectares. Whereas the technology to say, well, hang on, if I improve my sheep or I use better genetics on my crop and whatever else, where are the gains that I can use the same amount of inputs, have the same amount of hectares, but I can use less of those inputs or whatever it is, rather than trying to spread yourself thinner. It's how do I what I'm operating with, and it's not necessarily running more sheep, even though you get that genetic gain. It's like how do I make them more efficient in what they're doing, and that's what I think the dairy industry's done well. Is it's found that where cows that outstanding cows used to do 50 litres, now they do 100 litres. Like, it's huge. Like, imagine taking wheat crops now that use, inputs correspond, but, wheat in dryland situations had the potential to make a 8-ton crop, double your average yield. How would that change farm businesses?
Oh, it'd be huge, wouldn't it? Like,
Well, I suppose you look at what's your comparison, Alex? How many years ago was the best cow making 40 litres?
How many years ago?
Yeah.
Probably in the 80s.
Yeah. So
70s?
you look back at wheat in the 60s and 70s, and your best crops were doing, 4 or 5 ton, and now your best crops are doing 10 ton. So the genetic gains the same. Like the genetic leap we've had is the same. It's just that margins are so tight now, I suppose.
I just did a bit of research then, Jack. But yeah, in the 1980s, the approximate tons for global was about 2.5 tons a hectare, and last year's crop globally was 3.5 tons per hectare.
So it's at a 30% increase.
30% increase in that time. What are you saying? Goody, your 50% increase?
You'd have to fact check me as well.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll fact check that. Hang on.
Because your average yield of cows is not 100 litres. It's, that's what the potential of cows is. So, it's in terms of average production, I wouldn't know off the top of my head. But that's
So this is just straight off a Google search, so the fact checks will need to be fact checks. But it's gone from roughly 2,900 litres per cow in the 79-80 year to over 6,200 litres per cow by 24-25 global averages.
There you go. So 3x.
Look at a double.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's obviously globally, worldwide. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, it talks about Australia and New Zealand milk being higher in milk solids than other. So that kind of throws that data out a little bit too, obviously, to do with the powdered milk kind of production, I assume, Goody, with that. Is that correct? Or yeah. Anyway, but it just shows you that, like, that. It just shows you that you're right. The genetic technology, as much as the farming technology, like I suppose the genetics in wheat's tricky. I don't know. How do you influence that as much, Jack? What's your thoughts?
I think, yeah. I suppose the next step with genetics, or with yield bump in wheat, is hybrids. We've seen it with canola, we've seen it with corn, we've seen it with sorghum, we've seen it with soybeans. I just think that everyone's a bit scared of what that looks like, especially from a broadacres perspective of what a hybrid wheat system looks like. But there could be that 2x or 3x yield bump in it. Or no, sorry, not 2x or 3x, 30 or 50% yield bump in it. That would pay for that difference in what it looks like.
Yeah. Do you think that the hybridization in cereals, like what do you think then's been the barrier for it? Because it's clearly not been an issue for some of the other varieties, like you said, like cotton, for example, with cotton, corn, canola. The big
maybe it's the sheer sowing rate argument. So like the amount of seed you need to sow 100 hectares of wheat compared to 100 hectares of corn is a difference between a truckload versus a couple of pallets, sort of. So it's that side of it, I suppose, is what's
the logistical side of actually getting all that hybridized seed out.
And the cost. It's people are scared, I suppose, of having to all of a sudden pay for their wheat seed, which they haven't ever had to do before.
Yeah, that opens another whole can of worms ago. Is that the reason why our yields haven't jumped? Because we've been just using the same similar varieties for the last 10 years.
But that may not necessarily solve that problem either. I mean, dumping a heap more wheat in the market's not going to help the price of wheat.
Exactly. Yeah, right.
Like it's and we're still limited by rainfall.
Well, yeah, I suppose the point being that, like, so cows eat the same, but they produce more milk. You know what I mean? So it's like, can a wheat crop produce more wheat from less rain? Like that's what I suppose you're getting at. But and then it becomes, all right, so then I can actually grow the same amount of wheat from less hectares. So therefore I can run more sheep or grow a different crop or whatever. And it comes back to that piece of diversifying, because I've got more options, because we actually don't need more wheat. What we need is more efficient use of the land. And that's like one thing I'd say, like, I found as a really interesting perspective in New Zealand, was that no one was actually really a dairy farmer or a sheep farmer or of course technically they were, but what they were grass farmers, and they didn't care what it was that they did. They grew grass and they did whatever operation on that grass made them the most money. And that's something, a perspective I think a lot of Australians struggle with, is that, they love being this type of farmer. They want to farm this enterprise. Whereas, Kiwis, I think, do a great job of going, well, actually, I could make more money if I did this instead. I'm still a farmer. I love being a farmer, but the most profitable use of my land is this.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to look at the data. It's really confusing to try and quickly compare the rise in milk prices between that time and the rise in wheat prices, because there's obviously milk solids and liquids, and how they used to pay. They used to pay for it in liquid, now they pay for it in 100 kilograms of solids and stuff like that. But just for like in bushels, wheat's gone from $4 per bushel in the 1980s to roughly $6 a bushel in 2024, 2025 average worldwide prices. So Yeah, you kind of, like you said, Goody, putting a heap more wheat into the market isn't going to change it, is it? If anything, it hasn't moved much at all.
It's going to make it worse. Like that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you spend much time in New Zealand? Sorry, I was too busy researching Goody to.
I only went on a tour with our milk company. We were there for about a week, 10 days. Yeah, super good experience. Met really great people. It's an absolute like top of the line farmers who are just kicking goals. And yeah, talk about you can't make money out of farming. There's some people there who are making a lot of money out of farming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it can be done.
That's an interesting question that you hear mentioned a bit, probably a throwaway line, but and probably I'll ask you guys individually, but start with you, Goody. What makes a top-notch farmer? Like, is it production? Is it the tech? Is it like the combination of both? Or what? Like, how would you?
Well, I said it
if you were to
before,
look at a list of blokes, yeah.
The farmers who are very good farmers know their numbers, and that was what was one farmer in particular we met over there was that, you know, they ran a farm on, it was a 500 hectare pivot, right? And the farm was basically round with the dairy perfectly in the center. So they'd spent years trying to find this farm, and then they found the perfect farm and they fixed up any bit that made it not perfect. And everything for them was utilizing grass. So how do they utilize grass most efficiently? Well, dairy in the center of it, make the cows walk the least amount they have to, run the maximum stocking rate they could to utilize that grass to get, you know, the best, you know, harvest of the grass by the cows. But the biggest thing is they knew their numbers about like what they were producing dollars wise per hectare. You know, so they knew what levers to pull. You know, whereas some farmers over there were hardcore, all you do is feed grass. Well, no, these guys are actually using a fair bit of palm kernel meal because they knew that would help them increase their stocking rate, which would improve their profitability per hectare. Yeah, just the I think key to all farming is knowing your numbers. You got to know your numbers.
Totally. Jack, what's your thoughts, mate? Similar line, like just knowing what you do and being able to improve on it?
Yeah. I think if you've got to, farming's gone away from unfortunately, it's gone away from doing what you love and not really thinking about it. It's gone into, you've got to treat this as an absolute business that you know every dollar in and out to know where to put, what levers to pull. And I think that's a big generational shift between sort of our generation and the older generation. Is the older generation still wants to treat the farm as it's their lifestyle and that's what they were there to do, whereas we need to start treating the farm as, you know, it's a
like a business,
as big as business as any other, and you know you need to know every number.
Yeah. Gus, what your combination of the both, mate, or what else did you want to add to it?
Yeah, numbers for sure. Like, obviously, like, you know, achieving the goals you're setting out to. So if you're trying to grow or whatever, like as long as you know, making enough money to service your debt, grow, generational wealth, succession planning, and all that. Obviously, everyone's got different goals in what they're trying to achieve. But like, if you don't know your numbers, like, and I find out clients that we deal with, like, you get some that are all over it, and you know how much meal rain they got 7 years ago, and know exactly how much their wheat made compared to their favour beans. Like, you know, they're the ones that I'll probably say will be top notch. So yeah, just being in control of all your numbers, and yeah, that's really all it is.
Yeah, totally. Jack, mate, you wanted to throw another topic to the group, mate, before we finished up.
I just wanted to finish ag on a light-hearted note, and even you, Bealey, what's the biggest fuck up we've seen this week?
Actually, well, from my perspective, I got a truck stuck out on a property, so that was good fun. Yes, that was the biggest fuck up for me that happened, and yeah, I loved it. Loved it, standing out in the rain, in the mud, getting the truck out of it.
You have to get towed out.
Yeah, I did. It was good fun. Yeah, loved every minute of it. I did. Yeah.
No. Gus, mate, what have you got?
Come back to me.
What about your vetch, Gus?
Oh yeah, I suppose well, it wasn't really mine, but I seen one. Yeah, no, I had a slight issue with a client of mine. They had a bit of residue left in the tank and smoked 60 hectares of vetch. So yeah,
Ooh.
it looked pretty ugly. Put it flat on its ass. But I had a look yesterday actually, and the new shoot's coming back, so I was pretty happy about that. Pretty happy to see signs of life. But yeah, I suppose that's well, it is a fuck up, but boom hygiene, it's important.
Yeah. Jack, mate, have you got one lined up that started this line of conversation?
Yeah,
or-
well, I'm just thinking about my my beautiful pivot of sorghum that has been growing away like stink for local abattoirs, and it's looking unreal. And then we've suddenly got a bit of wet weather, and they can't stop irrigating, and we've only managed to harvest 20 of the 50 hectares, and the rest is left to rot. So that's a fair fuck up, I
Ooh.
say.
Speaking about getting bogged, some of the photos that you were sending through of those trucks and trailers in there getting up to their axles.
Had a mate in a 12-wheeler for a full day, 12 hours on Saturday, pulling every single cart out of the pivot. As soon as it filled up, the cart got bogged. He went in, hooked up, pulled them out. The 12 hours he did that for till they finally had enough.
How much water does this abattoirs use? Like, how much storage have they got?
So we get 2.8 megs a day goes into the storage dam, and there's 120 megs of storage, but it basically works out that the pivot's got to coat with 25 mils every week on top of the average rainfall of 12 mils. So it's about 35 mils a week is what the pivot's got to coat with every week of the year, regardless of the weather. So summertime, it's all right. Summertime with the evaporation and a good crop, you can handle it. But it's a southerly change when you're trying to harvest and trying to plant your winter crop that things go pear-shaped real fast.
Yeah. Goody, have you got one, mate? Or
Well, we had a friendly rat chew a couple of wires, and we managed to turn our vat into a agar plate for 3 or 4 days. Yeah. So if you can imagine, milk and blood are like two of the perfect mediums to grow bacteria in. So of course, fat's got milk in it. And what had happened is the actual pump that pumps the water around the vat, which actually washes the inside of the vat. Well, that wasn't actually starting. So what was happening was you had hot water going into the vat, say it's 60 degrees. That lifts the ambient air temperature in the vat to about 35, 40 degrees, right? And you've got all this humidity in there, and you're getting no washing sort of happening, and you'll keep putting fresh milk in there. It's just an absolute cesspit for making bacteria. So anyway, that only happened for a couple of days, and we got that sorted and back under control. That's all nice and sparkling clean, and happy days. So yeah, that was our big fuck up this week. So thanks, Mr. Rat. Hopefully not the same Rat Bealey was talking about. I was just going to say that.
But still the same horror show. I'm sure.
Same horror show, different rat.
Yeah. No, I only had a bloke that decided to put a pallet, an IBC shuttle on top of some steel posts, which the steel posts decided that they'd prefer to go through into the IBC and leaked out some chemical everywhere. Safely picked up and tied it up, I'm sure. But yeah, fun facts, just don't put shuttles on top of steel posts. Not entirely sure why he decided to do that, but anyway. One of those, it seemed like a good idea at the time. Yeah.
Was it paraquat?
No. It was not. It was Treflan. So anyway, it's a nice orange colour. Yeah.
What age is orange?
Anyway. Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining, guys. It's great to get the crew back together. We'll have to do it again soon. We'll definitely get everyone back together. It was good fun. Goody, thanks for joining us, mate.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Jack, I'm glad you finally got your technology sorted, but your microphone was phenomenal. Your voice sounded clear and crystal.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Gussie, thank you, mate. Now you've got this program working, we'll get more AFL updates, please, and thank you.
My pleasure. Sounds good.
And Beals, keep working on your salesman pitches, mate. Loved it.
Yeah, no worries. I've had a great time. Learned a lot of farm stuff, so I've learned a lot this episode. Thank you.
Too easy. Thanks, guys.
Sorry,
Talk
Dale.
next time.
One, two,